Hi, I'm Bob Power. I have been taken to saying that I fix things when people ask me what I do. Uh, I mix, master, and produce records. Depending on the year, more of one than the other. But I definitely fix things. I hope I fix things. I try. I have been a Bias Peak user for, I kind of lost count, at least 5 years. I use it primarily for mastering, and it's one of the better tools available for Mac for mastering. Although it has a lot of other uses, and one of the interesting things about the program is everybody has a different story on it. Oh, I love to use Peak because of this, or I love to use Peak because of that. For me, for mastering, there were several reasons for me to go there. Number one, and this is big, is it will allow you to generate a DDP, which is a digital file set that is more accurate for making mass duplicating CDs than actually having a physical CDR itself and then making the copies from that. Peak will generate a DDP, which is the audio, all the ID information, and then a bunch of subcode information as well. You can embed ISRCs, which are little unique digital identifiers that are embedded with each track that help you track airplay and sales as well. So it's sort of like a digital watermark of a sort. The other thing about Peak, and it's funny, number one, this is not empirical at all, and some people will laugh at me because they'll say, oh, it's using the same audio engine as this and that, and you're using the same converters. Peak sounds really good. I don't know, I really don't know why, but the way that it handles audio, things end up sounding really big and open, which we know, having used a lot of DAWs, things don't always sound big and open. So DDPs are a big thing. The other thing is it has some really cool facilities for assembling an LP. The fade facilities are very cool. There's a lot of like little things in there that it's a deep program. It's like many pieces of very evolved software where I think everybody probably uses maybe 10% of what the software really will do. The DSP on it is very good, and everybody's known about this for years. Way back when, I think it was during the Peak 4 years, when I think we were still using hardware samplers, and it wasn't just that every DAW did time stretching. It wasn't like that at all. In fact, nobody did it. Peak at that point, the DSP was so far advanced from everybody else's. Now there's certain things that when I have problems elsewhere, I will often go to it. For example, the declick algorithm is very good. We all know that often if there's a digital click or even an audio anomaly on either a master or an individual track, you can go in and you can redraw the waveform, and it works about half the time. I wish it worked all the time. But Peak's algorithm, where you define an area and you just hit declick, it works quite well. It takes away a lot of that guesswork, and then, you know, visually you're never quite sure if the resolution of the line you drew is exactly contiguous with the other one, and Peak takes care of that for you, which is great. Again, I assemble my masters, I edit all my masters with it, and burn reference CDs from it, and generate DDPs from it. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife, and it's funny too because I had a lot of trouble understanding why I needed a 2-track editor in this day of, you know, incredible multi-track tools for DAWs. And it has shown me that, and particularly for mastering, it's a very powerful tool. Again, I don't know why, but it sounds really good. Let me take you a little bit around my studio here. I have an O2R96, which is at this point the world's biggest mouse and probably most expensive mouse. That said, when I mix, it's very handy. I leave the faders at Unity, but it's very handy to reach over and be able to hit a solo and stuff like that. The summing happens to sound quite good, but I think that's sort of a very subjective thing as well. Both for my mixing and my mastering, if you come around here, I'll be able to show you my, my rack. People say, oh wow, you've made a commitment to mixing in the box. Well, kind of. This is my 2-bus chain, and everything's pretty much hardwired, and I mix and match depending on what sounds better for the individual piece of music. I'll often go to one EQ or one compressor or the other and flip it in and out and see which really sounds better. And it's always different. It's a good idea not to get so stuck to say, these are my tools and this is what I use all the time, because you're really not doing justice to your clients or the music if you do that. You know, we're all a little bit crazy in that we try to find that last little drop of goodness and stuff. But Pendulum stuff, which is wonderful, really, really amazing. I mean, this is all the major players, or many of the major players. And like I said, I use different pieces for mixing and different pieces for mastering, just because there's certain strengths that each one may do better or worse than the other. This used to be full of hardware synthesizers, and fortunately, while the getting was still good, I traded them all in for virtual instruments, which was one of the better moves I ever made. If you want, we can go into the other room now, and I'll show you some of my other gear. A great luxury, any studio owner knows, a great luxury is to have a separate office. It's a really nice thing to be able to get out of that room for every once in a while. You can see behind me and around me, I'm a little bit of a guitar fiend. I'm a gear geek, and it's a problem, but I've been playing guitar since, since probably 64 or so. So the stuff that I've ended up keeping, I've had a lot of collector's items, but the stuff that I've ended up keeping are what I call player's axes. Stuff that, particularly for the studio, has a very specific sound, so when you hear something in your head, it's not like you gotta go futzing around forever to get the sound. You start with the right source. G&L Telly, I'm not even going to go through the stuff, but you can kind of see some of the assortment here. The one collector's item that I still have is a 63 335, which is just a phenomenal guitar. If you know D'Angelo's first album and Those Dreamin' Eyes of Mine, there's a guitar solo on that, and that's this guitar if you want to hear the sound of that. It's incredibly fat and warm. There's my my late dog as a puppy licking me in the face when I've been working too much. And back over here, this is my pumpkin, just a lot of really cool stuff. On the other wall, just some nice oldies as well. There's a bunch of stuff still in cases, and then if you look at my cases down here, you'll see that when I got this studio space, I refused to pay for storage. So I have racks and racks of Neves and my old DAW rig and lots of like goodies and racks that barely come out of the rack anymore.